Rgveda. Generally, it is rare to find a place name in the Vedas, and this is one thing which has been mentioned. And this place has connection with Aravalli Mountains, that is the Aravallis, the nearby sea, which during the time of the Rgveda was actually a navigable sea. As we have seen in some of the maps I showed about the Harappan times, where Dholavira shows a boat. Dholavira, actually the Harappan town is somewhere here. The ruins are somewhere here, even today. The other interesting thing about Iriṇa is that the Gaura is an animal, and Rgveda is particular. About 6 times it refers to this animal Gaura. And it is not only the Rgveda. The Vedic literature, the later Brāhmaṇas, which use the Rgveda for their rituals, also mention Gaura and explain Gaura is not a deer, it is not a domesticated animal, it is neither a wild bull nor a wild buffalo, but it is a wild ass. Vikrita ashva kritihi saha. So it is something like a demented horse. I am stressing this because somebody may say, oh, so what, Iriṇa is used in the sense of desert also, as a salt marsh. The names may be changing. The meaning of Sanskrit words change with time. So what? They may say like that. That I agree. But my request is Gaura should be recognized for what it is. That it should not be translated as the wild bull. And in fact, Sayanacharya in the Rgveda-Bhāshya simply says Mrigaha. But in the Shatapada Brāhmaṇa, as I said yesterday, I showed, very clearly it is said, it is going to be the wild part of a horse, or the wild equivalent, a replica of a horse. So let us bear this in mind. And there is something more to this. From this, I stopped with this slide actually. Over the years, that is about 5,000 years or so, these things have been carried on and on and on in various ways. We saw that even in the Yajurveda, the legend of Vishwarupa is slightly different from what is mentioned in the second mandala of the Rgveda. Nevertheless, even the traditionalists, the Sayanacharya, recognizes, as I showed in his Vyakhyana, that the Rigvedic thing has been explained in greater detail, Bahuda Prapanchitam, that is what he says in the Yajurveda. So we know that these are all interrelated, interconnected. Now, it is one thing for linguistics to say the language of Rgveda is older, the language of Yajurveda is later, and there is difference between this and all kinds of things. That's all perfectly fine. But for our cultural tradition and the cultural continuity, we have to see that the same thing has come through. And why I am stressing this, of late, maybe in the last 100 years or so, the Vedic studies are not so strong in this country, that is in India. Vedas are studied, no doubt. The Veda Patana goes on, Veda Patashalas are there, and traditionally, orally they study, they learn. That is all true. And even some of the Pratishakyas are learned. That is how to pronounce the various varnas, the swaras and all that. That's all true. But what about the meaning? And what about the interrelationship among the 4 Vedas? Why Samaveda is a song? Why only the Rigvedic mantras are used in it, but there is no independent text for Samaveda? And in fact, Samaveda is considered Vedanam Samavedosmi is what Krishna says. And he's given so much of importance. These things have to be questioned and studied. If we don't do, some Western Indologists are surely going to do these things. In fact, as I said, Vedas, they are world heritage. It is now a world heritage. You cannot say it belongs only to India now. Hence, instead of commenting and criticizing Westerners, Western Indologists, because in some of the social platforms, I see that many of the Indian Sanskrit scholars keep on, cribbing against Western scholars. That's not necessary. If they have done something not correctly or not rightly, it is our duty to set it right. So in that sense, I am mentioning about Gaura also. That is my wish, that the Vedic studies should once again be going on as it used to happen maybe 1,000 years back. This slide I showed yesterday also. So we have to see not only the Vedas, if you are interested in cultural history, as in Jain University, in the Center for Ancient History and Culture, we are interested in studying ancient texts, particularly the Sanskrit text is what we are right now doing. And in that, we have to even study the Puranas and later Samhita texts of any subject for that matter. And one of the things, primary principle I mentioned that in the Vedas is that the Devatas, the numbers, and self-similarity. The self-similarity yesterday I forgot to mention, so that is why I'm mentioning it today. And the same system, more or less, continues in later literature also. That is in the Sanskrit literature of, if you take the Puranas particularly and the epics, many of the legends, many things can be interpreted or you can understand it better if you see that the Vedic principle is this. Now, I go further today to the, I forgot to mention about this. Right. You see a painting here? Sudarshan, are you able to see the paint?
Yes, clear, sir. Very clear.
Okay. This is the painting of Akbar. Akbar is hunting in the Raṇ-of Kachh. This is a painting in the Victoria and Albert Museum. Should have been in India, but anyway, it is there. And what this says is, this is a painting done by his court painter by name Keshav about the trance or some realization that Akbar had when he went to hunt the wild asses, that is the Gaura Mriga, the Gaura. So he went in the Raṇ-of Kachh. And this story comes up in Akbar Nama. His chronicler, Abdul Fazl, writes about this in very great detail. Only in short I am presenting here. Akbar saw a group of wild ass and he wanted to hunt them. And he went and he was separated out from his group. And then when he stood in front of the wild asses, that is the Gaura, it is as though he got mesmerized and he could not shoot. So he sat with his gun as in a trance. That is this diagram it shows. The upper register is hunting. And here he is sitting, and his people are coming and wondering what has happened to the emperor. Later on, he says that he had a vision, and in the vision, maybe something was communicated by the Gaura that he should not hunt, and he should spend his time more in spiritual ways. Well, I am picking this up for one simple reason, that our culture, particularly the Vedic culture, culture means only the Vedic culture, whatever may be the other things, the spiritual dimension is always there through and through, and that cannot be forgotten. Even with the wild asses, there should be some very special reason why the Vedic people prohibited it and said, na ashitavya. Okay, let me proceed further. Now today I want to briefly touch on Skanda Purana, because Skanda Purana is selected simply because it is about the Arbuda region and the Raṇ-of Kachh. It does not mention Irina. This is very surprising. It does not mention, but he says something very close to that. Now, you know that Skanda Purana is the largest among the 18 Puranas, about 84,000 verses, competing with the Mahabharata actually. The last part or the seventh part is what is called the Prabhasa Kanda. that is made up of 4 books itself. The first one is called the Prabhasa Mahatmya. It is in 2 parts. Then the Vastrapata Kshetra Mahatmya, then the Arbudha Kanda and the Dwaraka Mahatmya. Now the text is too diverse. This is available on online. You can see the printed version if anybody is interested. It lacks continuity, there is no coherence, and there are some contradictory statements made here and there. It only shows that many people have edited it. It is not by... There's some noise?
That's okay, sir. We can continue.
Okay. The text is diverse, but still we can get an idea of some events which happened in Arbudha and the Sarasvati region that is very close to Irina. This is once again the map so that, we clearly know what region we are talking about. This is a modern map. This is a more ancient map. The modern map, you can see this is Kachh, this is Bhuj, this is the Raṇ-of Kachh, this is the district Patan, Gandhinagar is here, and Junagadh, because I mentioned about Dwaraka Mahatmya is one of the books, I have to say something on Dwaraka. Dwaraka, present day Dwaraka is here. And here also in the present day, the Dwaraka port is shown in this map here. Now we also mentioned about Prabhasa Kshetra Mahatmya. Where is Prabhasa? Today it is identified somewhere here as Somanath. But near Somanath it is generally written Prabhasa Patan or so. Whereas there is one Patan here, whether why it is also called Patan is another question. Now, in fact, when I took up this study of Skanda Purana, I was wondering whether I will be able to know something more about the geography of the region, because so many dimensions are given, so many details are available. But unfortunately, the geography given is very inconsistent of the place names. But for Sarasvati, it is very reasonably correct because everything is consistent. That is why I want to show that here. Now, first about the Dwaraka Mahatmya, there is very little geographical information, but it says that Santi anekani tirtani bahvascharya karanicha prapte kaliyuge gore tani pupluvire arnave. That means there are so many tirthas and towns or so, they all went down in the sea. It is again in the 16th chapter, Prachannani Dvijavaraha Tirthani Kalisankrame Plavitani Samudrena Pamsuna Api Udakenacha, it says. That means many of the places got pushed out or submerged, not only by the Samudra, but Pamsu. Pamsu is dust. In fact, in Raṇ-of Kachh, several cities have submerged. In 1819, there was a huge earthquake in Raṇ-of Kachh, and a large eruption occurred of the ground, not of any volcanic eruption. What I mean is the ground came up like a mountain. It was a wall of about 20 feet, about 5 to 6 meters got formed for about 25 kilometers long, and that was called Allaband, because the people called it the Wall of God. And the nearby, there was a fort called the Sindri Fort, and that was actually a sea coast, where in 1819, I am telling, that is much before the mutiny of 1857, there was a lot of export which was happening from India to Europe, and all that fort got submerged, the Sindri Fort got submerged and no more to be seen. And hence, this statement gained importance because such things might have happened even 1,000 years before or 2,000 years before. I will take in a quick sequence a few things I will show you. Now, the whole things, not all the 4 books can be covered by me in about an hour's time. So we will quickly go through the Prabhasa region, Where is Prabhasa region is still not clear. I have not come up to that. It simply says Prabhasa is divided into three parts like Kshetra, Pita, Garbhagriha, like that. And it is bounded in the east by Taptodaka, in the west by Madhava, in the north by River Bhadra, and in the east, south by ocean. Also gives the dimensions. Now, if you see this in perspective, that is, if you take a map and see, some river name you can see. Bhadra is shown near the present day Somnath. There's a name of that kind. Madhava you cannot see. I don't know. I could not locate it. Nyankumati also is not known where it is. Vajrani also is not known. And Maheshwari is also not seen there. But there is, in some maps, a small rivulet called Sarasvati is shown. And people claim that was Sarasvati, which was coming to the present day Somnath. That is geologically impossible, that cannot be accepted. And hence, in the beginning itself, some kind of doubt comes whether there is some confusion in the explanation or they have tried to switch some name to a new place. But anyway, let us go through some of the statements here. In the 4th chapter, it is discussed, it is mentioned, Yoso Kalagni Rudratu Prochite Vedavadibhi Soyam Bhairava Namnatu Prabhase Sam Vyavastitaha. The Kalagni Rudra, who is known by the Vedas, is in Prabhasa by the name Bhairava, is what it says. Now, Kalagni Rudra is a Vedic name. As you know, in the Rudra Sukta, Kalagni Rudra, yesterday somebody asked me, is mentioned. And that place, whichever may be this place, Prabhasa, should have been famous for Rudra, the Vedic Rudra, as a fire. And that fire, Agni, burned continuously for a length of 4 yugas, it says. Now, let us not go into the details of what is a yuga, what are the Chaturyuga lengths and all that. I don't think the people who wrote this is not in any ancient language. This is Sanskrit which anybody can read and understand. Somewhere maybe 5th century AD to 9th century AD, they would have known anything which burnt for a length of 4 yugas. So it is a way of utpreksha, explaining something which is very, very ancient. And also this linga has 3 names, Agnimeda, Kalagni Rudra and Agni Ishana. Now please understand what I am telling. I am not denying that for a period of, from the Rgveda onwards, the people who carried out the knowledge, their successors, would have remembered these names, Agnimeda, Kalagni Rudra, Agni Ishana, or even later on you would say Iriṇa, Nama Iriṇya, as in the Rudra Sukta. Even today we remember all these things. So, in between somewhere, when the Purana was written, they thought it should have been very ancient, but it is Vedic still. That is the meaning which you will have to take. There is no point in attributing a chronology of 4 billion years to this. Now again, Prabhasa is described in 7th chapter, once again, but with different characteristics. I will not read it, but the important thing is, it is in the Sagarasya Sannidho. Prabhasa is near the Sagara. Kritasmarasya Parato. Kritasmara is near the Kritasmara mountain, it is located Prabhasa. Whereas originally in the 4th chapter when it started, there is no mention of the mountain. That mountain mentioned was totally different. But still the word Somesha is used. Somesha is Shiva anyway. Somanatha is Shiva. Whether you call him Kalagni Rudra or by some other name, it's still going to be the same Rudra. So these are equivalent names as Shankara, which is used here. So very difficult to say what it means. But the last shloka mentions Chaturdesha Vibhagetu Danushancha Shatadvayam Samantam Mandalakaram Karnika Sa Mama Priya. Here actually Shiva is addressing Parvati. That is why Mama Priyati is there. Karnika. This Karnika is a hole or a crater, a opening, a mandala karam. Karnika is very dear to me, is what Shiva is supposed to be telling. And in fact, if at all there are some openings, as we have seen yesterday in the Mahabharata and also in, we'll come to the Arbuda maybe today, openings are there in the Arbuda region and in the Raṇ-of Kachh region, not in the present day Somanatha region. Now, Mount Kritasmara is associated with River Sarasvati in later chapters. So in other words, unless you read the whole of the Purana, you don't get a holistic idea of what it wants to convey. It is not a linear text, like, the modern text. I start from chapter 1 and then keep on like, Raghavamsha or even Ramayana, one after another, one after another. There is a sequential development. Here it is not like that. It is somehow mixed up. Maybe they were misplaced, or when they copied, there was some interpolations or changes which happened. But next, in the 11th chapter, India is described. There is the Bharatavarsha is described as in later Samhita texts like Brihad Samhita, Parashara Samhita and Garga Samhita. Bharatavarsha is again telling, Jambudvipa, and then there are several khandas in the Bharatavarsha. The ocean, the Himavan, Vindhya, the Parvatas, they are all given. And then suddenly, the Prabhasa is connected with Shakadvipa. Now, Shakadvipa, if you see, it is something which is further northwest of India, Shakasthana. But anyway, I haven't understood fully why Shakadvipa has to come here, or is there some other meaning here? Here the text once again gives the dimension of the Prabhasa region. The dimensions are given in yojanas. I don't know why they are very particular about the dimensions, some kind of geometry and associated numbers with all of this. Chapter is very long, but neither Somanatha nor the hot springs which are supposed to be near Somanatha are mentioned, but a connection between sun and Prabhasa is developed. See, Somanatha, if you know, obviously you would be knowing the history. Somanath was attacked by the Arabs in the 11th century, and Al-Biruni mentions about this. And Al-Biruni also went to Somanatha, and Al-Biruni in his book writes, it's called Somanatha for a specific reason, because his argument is this: Soma is moon, and in the new moon day and the full moon day, when the ocean swells, the water flows into the temple, into the linga. That is the reason why it is called Somanatha, he says, maybe. But here in the text, the Prabhasa is connected with sun. The shlokas are very interesting. People who want to read Sanskrit or fond of reading Sanskrit can read this very easily. Vishwakarma tu anujñātah Shakadvipe vivasvate. He uses Shakadvipa here. I don't know what he means by that. It may be the same Shakadvipa. Bhumi maropi tattejaha shatanaya upachakrami. He says that sun fell on earth. Vishwakarma placed the heat of sun on earth. That means he wanted to file him so that his heat gets reduced in a place called Shakadvipa and filed him. The spinning of sun, because the turning of the sun, Brahmatakalu Deveshi Sachandra Grahatarakam Adhogati Mahabhage Babu Akshiptam Akulam. So Vikshipta Salila Sarve Babu Vishcha Tata Nadaha Vyabhidyanta Tata Shailaha Shirna Sanu Nibandana. This is the important thing. Now the breaking of the mountains is something which you can't imagine unless somebody has gone through it or somebody has seen it. Why would anybody normally imagine that the mountains get broken, tall mountains get broken? There should have been a tradition of that, and that tradition most probably goes back to the Rgveda, where the Arbuda is hit by Indra. And here also Indra comes up later on. The oceans got disturbed and the mountains broke down. And Vishwakarma worked on sun for 100 years, reducing his heat. The part which fell at Prabhasa took the shape of the land. He says that something fell at Prabhasa. It's similar to one of the heads of Trishira, that is Vishwarupa, falling in Irina. But there is no division of 3 or 4 or any such thing here. Professor M.D. Srinivas pointed out there is the story of Vrutra and 4 parts of his guilt of Brahmahatya being taken comes up in the Uttarakanda of Ramayana. True. There it is the 4 parts, is not the 3 parts. Here there is no part at all. It says the first part that fell down. What happened to the others, we don't know. It says that this happened a very long time. That is almost at the beginning of Srishti. That is so to say in this Svarojisha Manvantara. But the important thing that we see, if at all we are looking for a physical picture, the dust created by sun's energy spread for 5 yojanas. 5 yojana is not a very long distance. It's about 25 to 30 kilometers. If really a great eruption or explosion happens, something like a nuclear explosion, let us say, it would be seen for such a distance, obviously, for even a longer distance, it would be held. That is from Maheshwari river in the north. Now, there is no Maheshwari river near the present day Somnath. There is a Mahi river, which is generally identified with Maheshwari, that is in the border between Gujarat and Rajasthan. Right, it is still flowing, and the 2 governments have an understanding and utilizing the river, the Mahi river properly. There is also the mention of Nyankumati and others. Near that place of sun, in the southwest direction, there is a deep opening in the ground. Again, the Nairitya comes into picture, where in ancient times, the demons Mandeha and Shala Katankata went underground. Now you see that Surya Dakshina Nairitye Patala Vivaram Priye Mandeha Rakshasa Yatra Tata Shala Katankataha. Mandeha, you would be knowing that Mandeha Arunam Prakshipanti, that is in the Taitiri Aranyaka. So this is a Vedic connection. How that connection has come, is it all imaginary or dreamy kind of connections? I don't know. But it is nevertheless, it is there. Some kind of information has been passed on, like legends. Now, the underground opening, once it is mentioned, it is described in great detail in 27 verses. This should have been very important. When this text was written, Patala Vivarasyapi Mahatmyam Shunu Sampratam. There is a Mahatmya associated with this opening. And a very interesting thing which is mentioned here is Tamo Bhave Samutpanne. When Vishwakarma created the Srishti, there are some dark matters also were created. And they were the Rakshasa, the dark objects or dark matter. They were the Suryasya Dveshana Sarvehi Asankyataha Mahabalaha. So they are all the Surya Dveshi, and they were also obviously celestial. Te tu drishtva mahatmanam samudyantam divakaram te dhumra pramukha sarve jahasuhu suryam anjasa. It's a very simple Sanskrit, you can understand it. I wish some of these texts are prescribed in the universities, in the high schools, and also in Sanskrit universities, they will have some Purana classes, where they study these things for not only their content, but also for the kind of simple alankaras or which are used there, the way they describe. And there is a technical language, and the technical language also can be understood for the technical words. Nibetuhu ambara brashtaha kshina punya ivagrahaha. So these Rakshasas, they are the ambara brashta, they fell down. How? Kshina punya ivagrahaha, as though their punya is lost. Rakshasaihi veshtito dhumra. Dhumra is the name of a Rakshasa. of a Dhumra Asura. Actually, a smoky, you can say, smoky Asura, obviously referring to a meteorite fall or a bolide, as it is generally called. Some of you would have read the news item about 3 years back. There was a bolide which hit a Russian town. And the photographs are still available on the web. You can see that there's a trail of dust particles. It may not be smoke. It may be the plasma because of the very high heat in the atmosphere burning, Nipatan Shushube Ambarat. They were dark, of course, originally, that is what he calls them. But they became bright. Ardhapakvam yatha talapalam kapibiravrtam. So it is not a single one. Yadrichaya nipetuste yantra mukta yathopalaha. Dhumra is the central part, but as though talapalam kapibihi avritam, a group of these meteorites fell as though they are like stones which are released by a yantra. In fact, you know that in ancient times the war was fought with stones which were sent through some kind of gadgets. Tato vayuvashad brashtaha pitva bhumim rasatalam jagmuh te kshetra masadya prabhasam varavarnini. And it is not just, they explain it quite well, realistically, vayuvashad brashtaha. So because of the high wind, they came out and they went down into the rasatala, into the bhumi. So that is how the craters were created. And he discusses this crater in some more detail. He says, only one opening by name Srimukha, protected by Sunanda, is visible now, whereas others have vanished. It is here. Evantu prakatam tatra drishyate adhyapi bhamini Srimukam nama tadvaram rakshyate matribhi priye. Then there is a discussion of the Saptamatrakas who are led by Sunanda, and this Vivara is called Srimukha. It is still there, is what is said, near Prabhasa. And that is also called the Arkasthala. This text is clearly a description of heavenly objects hitting the then sea coast or ground near Prabhasa. Wherever Prabhasa may be, even if somebody wants to argue that it is a present day Somanatha is Prabhasa, we will take that argument later. But he discusses this in the beginning itself because it should have been very dramatic. The story of the descent of the sun in the 13th chapter may be memories of ancient disasters which are carried by different groups in different ways. The text explains the place got another name Somanatha, but it is not very convincing. I will not go into the details. There is a long chapter about it. Why is called Somanatha, connected with Daksha and the Daksha Prajapati, his 27 daughters, so on and so forth, which are all actually Vedic legends. Now, Prabhasa Kanda presents a story linked with the receding of the sea. So it is not just falling of this. There is also receding of the sea due to this. Varashapascha tasyayam Puradato yatha dvijaihi evam shaptas samudrahtaihi brahmanaihi varavarnini tato varsha sahasrantuhi asprishyaha sambabuvaha. The sea was cursed and later on blessed also. Being cursed by them, the sea remained untouchable for 1,000 years, and after 1,000 years it came up, is what it says. Reason for the curse is a very long story. That once the Brahmanas there, they went to the sea seeking for food, desperately seeking food, because it's a huge famine. They were given sumptuous food in the form of rice, but fish meat was concealed inside. The Brahmanas were cheated, since by eating prohibited food, they lost their powers of going with the Devas and Gandharvas in the sky. The story goes further that the intercession of the Devas and Brahma, the local Brahmanas, agreed to retract the curse and make the sea fit for bathing. So this story obviously refers to failure of crops. There is also a reference to recession for a long time, followed by a rise in the sea level. This phenomenon is connected in the same chapter with Vadavagni. Tasya madhye mahasaram vadavam yatra vaimukam Shri Somesha Dakshinito Dhanvantara Shatavadi Uttarat Manasat Puram Yavadeva Kritasmara. Gives details, but to locate it, unless you accept this Vadava as in some manner connected with a small village called Vadva. Vadva is in the Kachh region only. Then, of course, it makes some meaning because there are some volcano kind of hills still there. For example, Nakatrana, it looks like it should have been an ancient volcano. When it might have erupted, I have no idea. Maybe millions of years ago. But they might have combined all of this and constructed the Purana. Or there might have been some small eruption somewhere. Because even now there can be, if there is a lot of coal or oil in the upper layers, there can be fire and there can be smoke. The sequence of events, receding of the sea, learned among the community under compulsion to eat fish, marine fire, which is called Kalagni Rudra, of the Vedas, is a widespread calamity. But there is no description of what may be considered a volcanic eruption. But next, how the Vadavagni started is the question. And there is a very interesting link of this with Sarasvati. Because the Sarasvati drying up is connected with Vadava, and Sarasvati river is discussed in great detail, but a legend is attached to that. That is the story of sage Dadichi and his son Pipalada. You know that Dadichi was in Samadhi when finally, his bone was taken away by Indra and to create his Vajrayuda, etc. Now, Pipalada, son of Dadichi, learns about this from his mother and does penance so that he could take revenge of the gods, for whose sake his father had to die. So, from his left thigh comes Aurva or Vadavagni, that is the fire with the face of a horse but without thighs. It is a horse face only. Let us keep this in mind. Vadava is ordered by Pipalada to eat away the gods one by one. Now, however, let me cut the story short. Vishnu intervenes and finally the Agni has to be taken to the sea because only water can take it up. Vadava agrees, but he wants to hold the hand of a maiden so that the heat gets reduced. That's what the Purana says. So Vishnu asks all the rivers, one after another, starting from Ganga. Nobody is willing. But finally only Sarasvati agrees, but she has some conditions. As it happens, even in the Vedas, when something is said, they would ask for a boon. And the boon would be given maybe as some 10 ahutis in Ekadasha Kapala or whatever. But here in the Puranas is slightly different. The gist of the discussion, Sarasvati is advised to stay underground and to turn east and show up whenever she feels tired. Whenever she is tired, she will turn east and show up. All such places would be declared holy to be considered as tirthas. This is the vara she asks, and Vishnu gives it. And next comes the interesting part. Where did she start? Through what are the places through which she went? Which are the tirthas which are there? The very detailed description. In fact, I was amazed when I read these chapters. So finally, when she arrives at Kadira Moda is Kadira or Kadira Vrikshas, that is a forest of the Kadira trees, and sees sea, she felt happy that she is carrying a burden as ordered by God. Being contented, she started flowing southwards. The description of the spout through which the river supposedly vanished is also figuratively described. Vadava, being pleased with Sarasvati, asked her to seek a boon from him. She in turn thinks of Vishnu for a suggestion. So she was advised by Vishnu, saying in her heart, Sarasvati asked him to become needle-faced. So that is actually the Venashana, which is identified in the international border even to this day, where Sarasvati is vanished in a deep pit is what is said. So the sea could have been or some backwaters could have been there. Accordingly, as per request, Vadava acquired a funnel-like neck, as in our clock, to drink water. So the water went into that needle is what it says. The next chapter once again is Sarasvati Avatara Mahima Varnanam. Description for why she came up. Not going to all the details. Having offered Vadavagni, Sarasvati as a river entered the ocean at Naradeshwara. Where she went, what happened, with fire in his hand, the ocean lit up like another Mount Meru with fire at its peak. And Tasya Uchvasa Anilodbhutam Tattoyam Sagarad Bahihi Nirmaryadeva Yuvatihi Itaschetascha Davati Atakale Gate Devi Shushyant Ambu Shanai Shanaihi. So due to the gases emanating from the sea, this is a realistic thing. There is no stones coming out, or there is nothing of that kind, but it is only a kind of bubbly gas, heated gas coming out. Water is overflowed and traveled in all directions. And the Sanskrit text is quite interesting. I can't read all of this, but the places are mentioned. For example, Tasyas Tateshu Ramyeshu Santi Tirthani Kotishaha. Teshu Tirteshu Sarveshu Dharmahetu Sarasvati. Rudravatara Margesmin Pravaram Pratamam. This is the Pravara first. Tat Taranga Namadyam Kakatirtha Mahaprabha. Taranga hills can even now be located. Tatra Tirtham Purastvanya Tirtham Dāreshwara Smrata. Dāreshwara can also be located. It's called Dārevada. Dāreshwara Punaschanyat Gangodbedamiti Smrata. I could not locate it. Like this, several of them can be located. Pundarika can be done. Then Matratirtham Mahapunyam. Matratirthat Punastasmin Nati Dure Vyavasthitam. Tirthan to Anarkam Nama. Narakirti Bayapaham. Tatas Tasmad Narakat Tirtham Anyat Punasthitam. Like this, all the details are given, and even in the beginning where it came, it went to Bhutishwara, then Bhutishwara, then the Rudrakoti, then Shrikanta Desham Vikyatam Gata Sarvaushadit. Shrikanta Desha, it is actually Staneshwar, where Harsha's capital, that is near the Kurukshetra. It is here. Samprapta Vanhina Sardam Kurukshetram Sarasvati. So from Himalayas, what is the direction she took and where she turned up became Prachi Sarasvati, where again she turned back, all those details are given. Even the Markandeya Tirtha, and then Udumbara Vana is also given. And Vatatirtha is given as an English translation, which I wrote a long time back. Many of these can be located. For example, Staneshwar is this. Arbudaranya is actually the Mount Abu region. Karjuri Vana can be Kajuria is Karjuri Vana. Taranga Hills can be located. Dharewada. Like this, several of them. Siddheshwar is going to be Siddhapur. Some of them can be done, some of them cannot be done. There is also a Valakilya Tirtha, I don't know where it is. Then she comes near Prabhasa in 5 branches. Now you see, if you read this, it could not be present day Somanatha at all. It has to be somewhere near the Raṇ-of Kachh region. That's all what one can say. And there is a further description. After that, she turned south and then turned west. That is the meandering happened. Guheshwara, Vateshwara. There is the place where Amardiki merged with Sarasvati. There is another river which came and joined. There is a Mundishwara, then Mahodaya Tirtha, then Pilu Karnika. After this, Dwaravati, where Vishnu is present. So Dwaraka or Dwaravati of Krishna it should be, because Vishnu is present, it says, should be somewhere in that region, at least as per this chapter. And to the southwest of this place, a metal column is visible, it says. I don't know which metal column. And then she had 5 tributaries, or she divided into 5 before entering into the sea. So it's a very figurative expression. Here is a map that I am putting up just to argue my case. Namely, the present day Somnath is here, somewhere here. But the river Sarasvati, however you take, may come up here or it may go slightly here. There is one branch may be coming here. Why it is so? Sarasvati could not have come to this place. Reason is yeah, this is actually, now I think we can see. This is Saurashtra. Sudarshan, are you able to see?
Very well, sir, very well.
Okay. And
Yes,
you can
very
see
well.
the drainage is always outside, going out, because this is a dome. The central part is high, elevation is high. So water, whatever you put, it has to go out, go out, go out like this. So Saraswati could not have come into this. That is the reason. That is the argument which you give. And about 2000 or 3000 years back, Saurashtra was not connected with the mainland. It was an island. I already showed that map. During the Harappan period, there could have been communication between the Gulf of Cambay and the Raṇ-of Kachh region, the Gulf of Kachh. Okay, let me proceed further. That is why I suspect the Prabhasa Kshetra Mahatmya was originally, the original Prabhasa Kshetra Mahatmya was about this place. But later on, maybe this got, deserted for whatever may be the reason. This place was selected and a name was given to this as Prabhasa. There is also other reasons why I argue like this, because even we know that from Krishna's story, Dwarka was near Prabhasa. At least we don't know where it is, but it was near Prabhasa. Present day Dwarka is here and is not very near to Prabhasa. But the local legend is the Mula Dwarka is here. There is a port even today called the Mula Dwarka port, which is in some of the Survey of India maps shown as Mula Dwarka. So at some time people thought had identified Dwarka here. So that is also the reason why I believe it's not moving. Okay. Let me go further because it's already nearing 9:22. So I will go for another 10 minutes and then stop. This Prabhasa Kshetra Mahatma consists of two parts. The first part is what I tried to cover. The second part once again starts with something falling from the sky. Tatas tat patitam lingam tat kshanat shankarasya cha tasmin prapatite bhumo prakampata vasundara kshubita sagara sarve maryadam vijahut sada shirnani girishrangani trastaha sarve divaukasaha. Once again falling of a linga to be called a Jyotirlinga. And what it did, Prabhasam kshetram astaya bitva avirbhavam astitam. So it fell there, Dhuma Sangaihi Sametastu. It was Dhuma was also there. It is not the Dhumra. There is some kind of a relationship, you see, from the Vedic period, for Rudra and Rudra Suna, that is the Maruds, who are also called Asura in some places. So there seems to be over time a folkloric development which has taken place. So Rudra is followed by his Rudra Gana, even in popular things, and those Rudra Ganas are Bhairavas, and they are all very, the Ganas are very difficult to handle. And Rudra himself is in a smashana. So that is connected with some kind of destruction. That is what it says. But still, these are the ones, Rishayo Veda Paragaha. This is coming from the Vedic period. So what did they do? The Veda Paragaha, Astuvan Vividai Suktaihi Vedoktaihi Shashi Shekaram. So the various suktas are what could they be? They are the Rudra Sukta only. And what did they pray? Samharasva Surashreshta Tejasvam Dahanatmakam. So this is connected, I would say, that with the Shanta Rudriya and the Rudra Abhisheka, the kind of things which are practiced even to this day for similar purposes, for well-being, as prayers, for things to happen, good things to happen to the community, to the people, and to the country. So then that Tejas got divided into 5, and there will be Pancha Prabhasa Rupena Bitva Tatra Vasundaram. It became 5 Prabhasas, it says. There are some further such descriptions which are possible are there. So in Prabhasa Khanda, so far only natural phenomenon were explained. That means catastrophic phenomenon. But what happened to the people? That also comes up in one of the chapters. There is a reference to a sea wave or a tsunami. Sea waves are called tsunamis, you know. And we had a tsunami a few years back here on the Bay of Bengal side. And this is the story of Kalakeya demons hiding in the ocean to take revenge on the Devas. And they take the revenge on the Devas hiding in the ocean. And in the night, they come and attack the Rishyashramas. The 7 Rishyashramas which are near the Prabhasa in the Arbuda Kshetra. And it gives the kind of thing that happened. Kalakeya demons, afraid of Vishnu, hid in the sea. They chalked out a plan to hurt the gods by killing pious people on earth. Finding an opportunity in the night to come out of the sea, they killed those in the Prabhasa region for an extent of 12 yojanas. In Vasishta Ashrama, 12,000 persons were eaten away. In Rgveda's place, 500. In the hermitage of Vishwamitra, 1,600. In Chavana's place, 700. In Jabal Ashrama, 200. And in Valakirli Ashrama, 600 people died. Due to this catastrophe, earth became devoid of Vedic learning and practices. Niswadhyaya Vashatkaram Bhutalam Samapadyata. It gives the numbers and all that. And it's a very long chapter. And to read itself is interesting because of the technical words which are used. Now, what we see in this Purana, that there are conflicting contents. Sometimes going there, sometimes coming here, sometimes long chapters, sometimes contradictions. And Prabhasa is mixed with moon, sun, Someshwara, Somanatha. They all appear to be later interpolations. In any case, the realistic thing is Sarasvati reached the Raṇ-of Kachh region. That is realistic. There is no mistaking of that. Then comes up 3 more books, the Vastrapata Kshetra Mahatmya, the Arbuda Kanda, and then one more which comes at the end. In the Vastrapata Kshetra Mahatmya, there is nothing much to see, except there is one interesting statement. Dunnako yatra bhimena bhuktva tyakta purapriye tatraiva vivram divyam mahapatala margadam. So this is a place called Dunnavilleti Vishrutam. Tato Gachan Mahadevi Dunnavilleti Vishrutam. What is this Dunnavilla? I don't know. Nobody has located this. But this Vastrapata is something like a place which is covered with cloth. Completely covered with a cloth. That matches Alankarika wise with the Raṇ-of Kachh region. And whether Dunnavilla refers in some time to Dholavira, because Dholavira is the name of the village there. That the same name has been given now to the place where the excavation has taken place. I don't know. But this is one statement which is there. There is nothing else in this Vastrapata Kshetra Mahatmya. Then the Arbuda Kanda, of course, is about the Mount Abu and very detailed about Vasishta, because Vasishta is such an important Rishi for Indian culture. Kim Pramana Arbudo Nama Kasmin Desha Vyavastitaha Kadam Vasishta Mahatmyat Pratito Dharani Tale. It is the question which comes up. The most important thing is, of course, after describing Vasishta, Panchagni Sadhako Grishme Japahoma Parayanaha, Kenachit Vatakalena, Tasya Denuhu Payaswini, Nandiniti Suvikyata, Kamaduga Sa Kaschid Dara Prashte Brahmamana Trinashaya, Patita Darune Shwabre Agade Timiravarta. This is the important thing. She falls into a deep pit. And then, of course, Vasishta prays to Saraswati, and Saraswati comes and Nandini floats up, is what is said. But this Shwabra, this deep pit, seems to be an important thing in the olden days. Because even in the Mahabharata, this comes. In the Tirtha Yatra Parva, Pandavas are advised, Tato Gacheta Dharmajno, Himavat Sutam Arbudam. Arbuda is the son of Himavan. Because in the Skanda Purana it is said, Vasishta prays to Himavan to send something like a mountain to fill up that pit. It may be called Himavat Sutta. Prithivyan Yatra Vaichidram Purvamasit Yudhishthira. In fact, in the Mahabharata period, whatever it was, already this was known. This had already happened. So this is a clear reference to a crater near Mount Abu. In fact, Ptolemy knew this. There's a deep pit in Vasishta Ashrama. And that is comes up in the book, India as known to Ptolemy. Some of you might have seen it. This has been translated by McRindle. He calls it apakopa in Greek, or punishment of the gods. There is a consensus of the authorities in referring the range thus named to Aravalli Mountains. Mount Arbuda Abu is by far the most conspicuous summit, one of the sacred hills. It was mentioned by Megasthenes in a passage which has been preserved by Pliny, who calls it Mons Capitalia, that is Mount of Capital Punishment. Name which has an obvious relation to the byname which Ptolemy gives it, the punishment of the gods. So punishment of the gods, he said, should be a cliff or a cleft. He also knows about Mahabharata and he goes to Vasishta. We will not do that. We have already covered that. This reference can only be to the Rgveda, second mandala, where the mountain was trodden by Indra and even the famed mountain Arbuda went down. And what are the other things? Why this text is important? Prabhasa is connected with Krishna. All of you know that. And in fact, this itself becomes a very large subject. Where was Krishna? Where was the original Dwaraka? How did he come from Mathura to Dwaraka, etc.? We will not go into all of that. But the Skanda Purana says, Jarasandha Bhayad Devi Vishnu Parijanai Saha Grihitva Yadavan Sarvan Bala Vriddha Vanijjanan Sashunyam Mathuram Kritva Prabhasam Samupagataha Samudram Prarthayamasa Sthanam Samvasa Hetave. This is sufficient. The remaining things are also there. There's an eclipse and all that. I will skip that. There is something more which comes up in another chapter. Again connected with Krishna. Krishna actually in his last days, he comes to Prabhasa. And in Prabhasa, in the 10th chapter, this is a place called Baluka Tirtha. Baluka Tirtha is the place where he passed away. It's all given in detailed description. I will not go into that. This is also a reason why the older tradition available in the Prabhasa Kshetra Mahatmya does not identify Prabhasa with the present day Somanath. Reason is here. Vishuvam vahate tatra nrunam adhyapi parvati maghyam sameshante Sarasvati abdi sangame. So Shiva explains to Parvati, in the place where Krishna passed away, even now Vishuvam vahate, that is the solstice happens and there is no shadow in that place on that particular day. That is what is given further. And the Magha Masa, it is again the winter solstice that is going to happen. And the Sarasvati merges with the sea is what is given. Now, if you see that Vishuvam is 23.5 degrees north matches closely with the present day pattern. And there are other reasons also why I say this. There is a table of geographical table in Sanskrit, which was published by Pingree. Pingree purchased this, he says, in a second-hand shop in Jaipur or somewhere in Rajasthan. I don't know how much he paid. And it was a paper manuscript belonging to the 15th century. He says that it should have been by some, originally by some Maharashtrian Brahmins, it should have been written. The whole book gives the various shadow lengths of our Indian cities, that is the Deshantara, as we say, and also the latitude and the longitude. Deshantara is from Ujjain, and also the latitude, how much it is away, depending on the shadow of the sun. The angula is given, the ancient shadows, 5 angulas and 35 vyangulas, it says, some further division by 1/10. For it lists 2 places, Prabhasa Pattana and Somanatha. So Prabhasa Pattana, this 24.57 is the modern calculation which Pingree has done and given. This paper is available, you can download it and read it. And he puts in his bracket, Pingree notes, this should be the modern name Somanatha, he writes. Then there is one more Somanatha. The left side is what is originally given. Here it is given 5 and 6, and this comes to 23.29. So there is a difference between these 2 places. And also the names are different. There may be error in this, in the angular calculation which is given, maybe approximate, because it should have been done on a particular day. Whether they did it on the equinoctial day, we have no idea. The modern values are like this. Patan is about 23 to 24. Somanath is only 21 degrees. So this cannot refer to either of them to Somanath. Even though the name Somanath is given, maybe there may be an error in finding out the shadow length. But it's clearly, people knew even about 400, 500 years back that Somanatha could be called Somanatha, but there is a Prabhasa Pattana is different. So Prabhasa Kanda traditionally considered, this is my concluding thing, slide, then I will open it for discussion. Traditionally considered as part of Skanda Purana, contains information about natural disasters which should have affected the northwestern part of India. What we considered in the first day and second day also, we can say, for us it is the northwestern part of India today, is the northwestern part. May not be the most remotest northwestern part, but this could have affected that part also. There may be connection with that part also, which is present-day Pakistan. But the names which are available in these Puranas don't match with them. If there is something like Mulasthana or Multan or Takshashila, I would have immediately pointed that out. But with the Prabhasa Kshetra, those names are not connected. So even though the narration is mythological, contents are such that the narrated event should have actually taken place and the memory passed down from generation to generation as folk stories and anecdotes. All the incidents mentioned in Prabhasa Khanda find place in one form or other in the Mahabharata. Mahabharata, I could not go in great detail, except I showed that Sarasvatī and Irina are connected, and Arbuda as a Tirtha Yatra and the crater near Arbuda is mentioned even in the Mahabharata as an ancient history. These all go back to Rgveda in one form and another. There are considerable differences, maybe due to different traditions. It also follows there was a severe famine leading to prolonged misery in the society. When it happened, we may not be able to exactly locate. This famine is described even in the Mahabharata. That is when Vishwamitra had to go in search of food and other things. Same thing comes up in this Skanda also. The place of occurrence of the impact and related phenomenon should have been in the Kachh Mount Abu region. I cannot pinpoint this. There is still a crater called Ramgarh. Ramgarh crater is known to modern geologists also. You can search on the Wikipedia, you can locate it. The famous crater is in Maharashtra region, the Luna crater, It was a circular crater, it was a meteoritic crater, but that is considered more ancient than these happenings. But you know, when meteoritic showers happen, they are spread over a large area. So we cannot say precisely where it is. And Iriṇa, being soft soil, after all, it is all silt which has come from the Himalayas, which filled up the Raṇ region and Sarasvatī, and the sea level came up and the ground level also came up. The meteoritic parts might have gone deep inside, but the Puranas and the ancient people seem to remember this Patala Vivara and there's a circular opening, the Karnika, the Vala, the Garta and Shwabra, and these details in some manner, they might have not seen them directly happening, but they would have carried the memory. So it follows that the present day Prabhasa, not Somanatha, the popularly identified as Somanatha, was not the original site. Most probably, it is near in the Raṇ-of Kachh, very near to 23.5 degrees. That goes somewhere in the present day Mehsana district near Patan. Well, this is what I wanted to say today. So thank you very much. Open for discussions.
Sir, Sudarshan here.
Yeah, please.
One question I am reading out from Venkatesh Parthasarathi about Yojana. With such high variation in the lengths of modern equivalents of Yojana, can we be sure? Second is a question from Rupa Bhati of Agastya rising in Prabhasa. Yeah, these are the two questions. Okay, there is another question from Mahesh Patil about 1/3 blame that the earth took of the Trishira's head falling. Does it hint of, does that 1/3 hint of the scale of impact? Does it say 1/3 of the earth was affected? That is Mahesh Patil's question.
Okay, now let me answer that question first. It is not just 1/3. Earth takes all, but 1/3, they happen in different ways. The trees take, then the women folk take some part, and Irina takes the remaining. That is how the original Yajurvedic description comes. That is too long a story. I will not be able to explain it. It is not any scale. It is something because the three heads some object had, and it had to be divided in three parts. That seems to be the synchronization there. Then about the first one, Venkatesh Parthasarathi, yeah, Yojana, the value is not exactly known. Because there was a short Yojana and there was also a long Yojana. So it varies from about, I would say, 5 kilometers to about 10 kilometers. That's what I can say. There is no precise answer for his question. Now, what was the question of Rupa Bhatti about Agastya?
I will read that question. Prabhasa Patan is referred to as becoming famous Agastya Tirtha as told by Krishna. If it was Agastya Tirtha, Agastya rose in Patan only, he says 5475 BCE. That was the Agastya rising in that latitude in Mahabharata.
No, I don't know. I cannot answer that question. Agastya would have been a human rishi also. It cannot simply jump to the conclusion that Agastya should have been only the star canvas. Yeah, in that latitude, Agastya would have been seen at an earlier period. That I agree. But that doesn't mean that the whole of this refers only to that. I cannot come to such kind of archaeoastronomical conclusion. That would be wrong. Because Agastya is connected with so many other places, is not the only place. Whereas in the Prabhasa Kshetra Mahatmya, Agastya is important for drinking the ocean. He is connected with that. The story is connected with that. In one Apachana, he takes the ocean, it says. That's what I can say. Other relations will have to be seen more carefully. Yeah.
Sir, there is a question from Ram Lakshmarayan. He is asking, there is a mention of Sarasvati, daughter of Brahma, we know, but there is also a brief that Sarasvati is Brahma's cohort. Cohort, I think he means army. Can you explain how this might have come up?
Saraswati is the daughter of Brahma and also
A consort, he says. He's also a consort. How is it possible?
Oh, okay. Yeah, these are different traditions. It's only an association. An association sometimes in the ancient context, they took that as daughter. Now, for example, Ushas, that is the early morning sky, is identified, already I told you, yesterday and today also. One of the typical thing is the natural phenomenon, they are identified in names and they are personified. There are two things we have to bear in mind. This is an ancient way of referring to some particular things. For example, I will give an example. In modern times, you will say that, let that be alpha, let that be beta. They would say that, let that be called Usha, let that be called by some other name. But there is in Sanskrit, the names have a gender. The grammatical gender is different from the biological gender, but people would normally say, okay, we'll take it in that sense. So if you take it as a Strilinga word, Saraswati, whereas Brahma is a Pullinga word, then you can say, okay, Saraswati came out of Brahma, so maybe a daughter. Maybe because she came out of Brahma in a modern sense, I will say that she is his consort or a spouse. That's all the reason. I don't attach any other importance to that. After all, even the other Shaktis, Lakshmi and Parvati, are also of the same kind. It is only a male principle and a female principle. They are always together, however you may look at it. But in the original place, in the first place, you want to call them husband and wife or some original principle, an android, and then dividing and becoming plus and minus, it is your choice. And in that, there is people have made different choices. And that is seen in the Vedic text also. This question comes up many times because even the days are called the calves or the vatsa of the year. Now the year produces days, means it is not that it is born out of the womb of like you should not take it as a cow putting a calf. But that is the language which is used. So you have to interpret. Okay, next one.
Professor Pandurangi, you had a question. Please go ahead. Devendra, please mute your phone. Please mute your mic. Too much of noise from your mic. Professor Pandurangi, shall I read your question?
Please.
No. Just I wanted to get clarified that whether Agastya drinking ocean, does it refer to the drying up of Iriṇa Sea?
Drying up of?
Iriṇa Sea. This.
Iriṇa Sea. In fact, it is not the only Iriṇa part. Because Iriṇa is, after all, connected with what today we call the Arabian Sea, the other part. The whole of the sea, whether it got dried up to Kanyakumari, I don't know. That would have been catastrophic. Perhaps not. It would have receded by a few kilometers.
So that's what I thought. When Agastya drank this sea, it must have dried up the Iriṇa Sea, whatever the Raṇ-of Kachh we see today. These people, these Rakshasas must be hiding there in the sea, and they must be troubling the rishis. So he came up and drank the...
I agree with you on that. The Kalikeya legend refers to In fact, the havoc which happened in the Arbuda Kshetra, which if you see from today's perspective, it is in the southern Rajasthan region, the north of present-day Raṇ-of Kachh, in the south of Rajasthan. We know that several of the Vedic rishis were in that region, or that is the Vedic region actually. A lot of things can be said about it. In fact, Arbuda is also called Veda Sabha. Veda Sabha is a word which comes up, I have seen in a couple of places. And I understand that even Panini refers to that as Aparaka or some such name, Apakara or some such name. And Devasabha is used in Kavya Mimamsa also to refer to that region. So that was the real Vedic region, the Sarasvati river region. That is the...
And also in...
Yeah.
Sorry, sir. Kritasmara.
Yeah.
Can you mention that also? Kritasmara, is it again Arbuda?
Kritasmara is supposed to be near Arbuda. I could not fully locate it, but Taranga hills can be located. And again, in the ancient texts, many of the names are like, one part is given a name, the next peak may be given some other name and called two different hills. Whereas today we may call all of them by the same name, Like we call simply Himalayas. Then you want to divide, you can call this as North Himalayas, South Himalayas, then Upper Himalayas and other parts kind of thing. So this has to be carefully done. And one has to do a field study, then only it will come out. There are so many other things which are mentioned, which I didn't have time to mention. Because it also talks about the Ganapatyas being there near the Arbudaranya in a cave. And also the Kaumara tradition to have started from that place. I don't know what is the meaning of all of this. And there is one lake which is supposed to be there where metal turns into, anything which is thrown in any metal becomes gold. And there is one geologist who has written on this, and he says that it is only mercury. And mercury, is not available in India. Mercury is imported, but it is the mineral needed for making mercury is cinnabar. Cinnabar is found only in a small place near this Taranga hills. So maybe the ancients knew this. Maybe it had come out some lake which was acidic or which had some special property. But somebody has to go there and see this,
Then I think that Kalakeyas need not be really tsunami waves, because when they describe the thing, the materials falling down on the Prabhasa, like that, they could have described it as a tsunami waves coming from the sea. Instead, they say that these are the Rakshasas, so we can take them as Rakshasas.
Well, it is a choice you can make, but I will not make that choice. See, Kalakaya iti kyataha, it says, they were hiding in the sea, and they came up in the night, and they killed. So, what is meant by coming from the sea? It is some natural force which is coming from the sea. It is not that 1,000 people are hiding in the sea and then suddenly would come and kill all of them as in a war. I don't believe that. And why would they come and kill the rishis of all that matter? So the rishis, so it has to be a wave. It has to be a sea wave only. I mean, that is my...
And the problem is, it is only described that only rishis died up there, not any ordinary people.
No,
so the Rakshasas must be taking revenge on the rishis.
No. The numbers are given. You please read that chapter. It's available in the text is available. There are about 3,000 people are also died. In each ashrama,
Yes,
not one rishi. There's a family.
No, these 3,000 people were all rishis. They were residing in the ashramas, universities.
Yeah. And what is the kind of ashrama?
But not The ashramas were rarely universities, like big campuses with their own understanding, etc. So these people, they took revenge on the destroying the knowledge system there.
No, that is our perception today. How they were at that time, nobody knows. Na? They should have had some kind of protection. We should not go by what Kalidas has written in Abhijnana Shakuntala and push it back to the Vedic period, I don't want to do that. Even if you read the Puranas, you don't get that impression. If you see the Skanda Purana, read it, you don't get such an impression at all. Of course, it is a religious book, discusses the Tirtha Kshetras, and it mentions about the Rishi Ashram. It doesn't say that the Rishis were there when it was written. They are all ancient happenings. So ancient happenings, it gives the numbers. You can take it the way you want. There are also cities which are explained. And the cities, as I said, it says that it went down the sea, some of them, and some are washed away in the dust, it says. So it could have been connected with them. You should not take it too literally. It is the overall picture is what has to be taken, is my personal opinion.
Sir, there is a question from Sri Krishnamurthy. He is referring to you mentioning that Dullola, the Dholavira speculation.
Dunavila.
Is there anything more about it? Any more references to Dholavira or its location?
No, there is nothing. In fact, this is the only name where when I read it, it surprised me because it rang a bell that it sounds like Dholavira. That's all. I don't have anything else.
Okay. So Devendra has a question. He is asking about self-similarity. Devata, numbers and self-similarity. Why were the seers occupied with it?
Who asked this question?
Devendra Tiwari from Pune, I think. Pune.
Okay. I don't know. It's an interesting question. Self-similarity, as you see that in the Vedic text, they talk about a Prajapati created in his own image the men and the asuras. They're similar. And if you see some of the texts, there is an identification between the persons, a Purusha, and with the ear. And then between the ear and the Agni Chayana, like this. So the self-similarity coming from the numbers. That is one kind of thing. The second is from some kind of a spatial. That is the Nairitya I mentioned yesterday. So wherever one person may be sitting, whether in Kanyakumari or in Assam, he sits for Agni Sandhana facing east. And then Trinam Nairityam Nirisa, to his Nairitya he puts it. So the original Nairitya was the Vedic Nairitya. So there is a self-similarity created like that. And this self-similarity continues even in many of the Samhitas. If you see, the India is divided as per said, the Nakshatra Kurma Dhyaya is there in a couple of the Samhitas, starting from the Parashara Tantra, then even in Brihad Samhita gives it. The Kurma is divided in a particular fashion, as though it is corresponding with the stars in the sky. So there is a similarity like that. And even the Ahamaniya, the Garhapatya, they are identified as being similar either to the earth or to the sky. That is, one is square, one is circle. Nevertheless, they are of equal magnitude. That should be equal to the area created by the person or the Yajamana. There is another similarity there, the similarity with the person himself. So these are some of the things which are there. That is what I meant as self-similarity. Why? I don't know. It should have been there in nature. They would have realized that nature is self-similar. So let us also be self-similar is what they might have decided. Next one.
Sundar is asking a question. Chandram Prabhasam Yashasam Jwalantim we see here in Sri Sukta. So why is she called as Prabhasa?
No, there the Prabhasam is only, I think, a qualification, one who is bright. It is not refers to a place. But the Chandram Prabhasam rings a bell. There is a tradition in Gujarat. I think I heard it from one of the Jain friends that the present day Somanath is called Chandra Prabhasa, whereas the Surya Prabhasa is different. Surya Prabhasa is supposed to be north, much north of that, maybe in the Raṇ-of Kachh region. That was not very clear. But Somanath is actually Chandra Prabhasa, but the word Chandra has been omitted, and then simply it is nowadays called Prabhas, was one of the explanation given to me. But the Sri Sukta, it should be different. There is no connection.
So the Sri Sukta, there Prabhasa is only Bhasa Shabda is there.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Bhasa is in the Tritiya. So she is shining with
Shiny.
bright color.
Correct, correct.
And Prabhasa Yashasa Jwalanti.
Yeah, it is nothing to do with the Kshetra.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, Satyanag has a question. He is asking, see, in Yuddha Kanda, to subdue the Sagara, Rama showers arrows, and then there is a simile given about arrows falling and creating Marubhumi. Is it connected to this Iriṇa and cosmic activity on the Iriṇa?
No, I have seen that. In fact, I have referred to that also. Actually, it gets dried up in the Abhira Desha, it says, but that is, I think, a similarity is created there. An event which had happened in the past, a reason is given. Rama being Vishnu Avatara, the Bana should not go a waste. So that becomes a desert, the south of Abhira. That is how it is. It need not be happening associated literally with the Yuddha Kanda, is my view.
Rupa Bhati is asking, what do you think if this is there a record of declination change?
Record
because
of?
Declination change, I think she is referring to precession of equinox. So she says Kala chaos hiding in the sea, then becoming visible. Is it a sky phenomenon?
Is it a?
Is it a celestial phenomenon instead of the sea? Is it celestial? She is asking.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. Because it is in the nearby sea, they were hiding. There is a nearby sea. Why should I create a more complex kind of reasoning? The principle is always Laghava. Whatever is the minimum number of assumptions I have to make, I explain with that. If that is okay, I pass on further with that. Why should I assume it to be celestial? No, there is no reason for that. And we know that tsunamis are very possible in that region. And in 1945, there was an earthquake in the present day near Pakistan called the Mekran earthquake. And the tsunami struck Kachh to Bombay and even up to Kāṇva reached. So I don't see any reason why I should not take it to be, not take it to be a tsunami. But there are also other reasons. Hello?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I think Kaushiki and Prashant have unmuted their phones. Probably they want to ask a question.
Please. Kaushiki, I'm happy you are attending the lectures.
She's, I don't know if she has a unmuting problem. She's written, Abhiras were actually Shakas. So, is Shakadvipa, Abhira Dvipa, is there some connection?
I don't know why Abhiras are to be Shaka. I don't know. I cannot answer that because Abhiras are even Krishna sometimes in some of the things are said to be connected with the Abhiras. Maybe it's a particular group of people I know, but why they are the Shakas? And there are Shakadvipi Brahmanas also in some of the texts. So very hard to divide the ethnic groups and argue based on it, I have no answer to that.
Shankar Santamurthy has a question. Pradeep Sima has a question. Pradeep Paschat Prakshetam. Shankar Santamurthy is asking, Podigai Hills is also known as Agathiyar Kudam, Thiruvananthapuram district, and it is said as a southern nodal polarity of Mount Kailash. Are there any references in Vedas for this?
No, I haven't come across anything. The only indirect statement about South India, which I forget the mantra, there is one which says the Vratyas or the Vangas or Cheras, some such name comes up. I can't immediately recollect and say that. Otherwise, there is no reference to South India, in the Rgvedas. Even in the other Vedas, I have not come across.
Mahesh Patil is asking, a lot of Greek mythology is so similar to Indian mythology when it comes to these devatas and all that, celestial activities. Why are we hunting for place names, Vedic place names only in Indian myth?
I'm not hunting. Let me be very clear on this. It is a swadhyaya for me. I'm just reading out of curiosity. If I can read Iliad and Homer, I better read Rgveda and Yajurveda and others also. What is wrong in that? I'm not hunting. If there is similarity of place names, yes, we know that. In fact, the European Indologists have located many of them perhaps to claim that the Aryans went from Europe to India or so. And that is a controversial question. You know that. So I'm not hunting. That is not the right word. It is there and I'm mentioning it, which has not been said by others. I'm a research worker. I get no pleasure in simply repeating what others have said. Charvita Charvanam, I don't like it. There has to be something different, something new. The data we may collect, how do we interpret it is the question. So from my analysis, this is what I got and I have presented. That's all. If there is
Pradeep Mahodaya.
ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ?
ಕೇಳಿ ಸರ್.
ಓಕೆ. ಶಾಖದ್ವೀಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಉಲ್ಲೇಖ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಹಿಂದೆ. ನಮಗೆ ಈ 7 ದ್ವೀಪಗಳ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಶಾಖದ್ವೀಪದ ಉಲ್ಲೇಖ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಶಾಖದ್ವೀಪ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಉಲ್ಲೇಖ ಮಾಡಿದ ಶಾಖದ್ವೀಪ ಎರಡು ಒಂದೇನಾ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆನಾ ಅಂತ ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ನಿಶ್ಚಯ ಮಾಡೋದು?
ಬಹಳ ಕಷ್ಟವಾದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ, ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಇತ್ಯರ್ಥ ಮಾಡೋದು ಬಹಳ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಪುರಾಣಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದೊಂದು ತರ ಇದೆ. ಈಗ ಸ್ಕಂದ ಪುರಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಪ್ರಭಾಸ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಶಾಖದ್ವೀಪ ಒಂದು ಪದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಏನು ಎತ್ತ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಬೇರೆ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳಿಂದ ನಾವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಬಹುದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅಷ್ಟೇನೆ.
ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಜಿಜ್ಞಾಸೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದು, ಈ ಪ್ರಭಾಸ ಕಂಡ ಮೊದಲಿದ್ದ ಸ್ಥಳ ಬೇರೆ ಈಗ ಬಂದಿರುವ ಸ್ಥಳ ಬೇರೆ ಅಂತ 2 ಸ್ಥಳಗಳನ್ನ ಗುರುತಿಸಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಪಾಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ನನಗೆ ಕಂಡಿದ್ದೇನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಈ ಮೇಲುಕೋಟೆ ORI ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮ್ಯಾನುಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ, ವಿರೋಧ ಮರ್ದನ ಅಂತ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪುರಾಣಗಳಿಗೂ ಮತ್ತು ಜ್ಯೋತಿಷ್ಯಕ್ಕೂ ಇರುವ ವಿರೋಧವನ್ನು ಪರಿಹಾರ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅವನು ಹೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಕಾರಣ ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಸಗರನ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಪಾತಾಳವನ್ನ ಹುಡುಕ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಕಪಿಲ ಮಹರ್ಷಿಯನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಭೂಮಿಯನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆಯೋ ಅಗದ್ರು. ಆಗ ಅಗೆದ ಜಾಗಗಳಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಸಮುದ್ರದ ನೀರು ತುಂಬಿಕೊಂಡು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದ ಭೂಭಾಗಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಚದುರಿ ಹೋದವು ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯವನ್ನ ಬರೀತಾನೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಪುರಾಣ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹಿಂದೆ ಯಾವ ಭೂಮಿಯ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಇತ್ತೋ ಆಗ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಪ್ರಭಾಸ ಮತ್ತೆ ರನ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಚ್ ಹತ್ರ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪ್ರಭಾಸ ಅಥವಾ ಸೋಮನಾಥ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಇದ್ದು ಕಾಲಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಹೊಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದು ಈ ಮೂಲೆಗೆ ಬಂದಿರಬಹುದಾ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಂದೇಹ ಬಂತು.
ಇರಬಹುದು. ಈ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡೋದು ಬಹಳ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಪಾತಾಳ ಅದರದೆಲ್ಲಾನು ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಪುರಾಣಗಳು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕೋದು ಪಾತಾಳ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಜಾಗ ಇದೆ. ಈಗಿನ ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಂಧ್ ದೇಶದ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಮ್ಯಾಪ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಪಟಲಿನಿ ಅಂತ ಗ್ರೀಕ್ನವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಅದು ಪಾತಾಳ ಅಂತ. ಅದು ಇರಿಣಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಿದ್ದ ಜಾಗನೇ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹತ್ರನೇ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಸಾಗರಕ್ಕೆ ಹತ್ರನೇ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರ ಪುರಾಣಗಳಿರೋ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಕಥೆಗಳು ನಾನು ನೆನ್ನೆ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನೇಷನ್ಸ್. ಸಿ ದಿ ಸ್ಟೋರೀಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬಿನ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಡ್ ಫರ್ದರ್. ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಅಂಶನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅದ್ರ ಸುತ್ತೂಲು ಬೇಕಾದಷ್ಟು ಬೆಳೆಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅದ್ರ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇರೋ ತಿರುಳು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅದನ್ನ. ಆ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಲಿ ನಾನು ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಆ ದೃಷ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ. ಅದು ವಿರೋಧ ಪರಿಹಾರ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅದು ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಒಂದು ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ಇರಬಹುದು.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any questions? Dr. Kalyan, are you still there? If you have any questions.
This is Sundar. I have one more question, sir.
Please.
So this, you mentioned one verse about Shiva telling Parvati about a zero shadow. And so the significance of that is fixing the latitude of the place, is it?
Yeah, if along latitude 23.5 degrees during the solstice day, summer solstice day, there will be no shadow in the afternoon. I mean, that's all assumed. That's all understood like that. That's all what you can interpret that. Even now there will be no shadow is what he says. And this is mentioned even in some of the Greek records.
So this is zero shadow along with solstice. That's a combination.
On that day in that place.
Okay. I understand. Oh, thank you.
Is it a technical word or it has any etymological connection with Vishuva?
Yavdu sir?
Vishuva. ಅದಕ್ಕೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಇದು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿರ್ವಚನ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಥವಾ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಹಾಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ?
ನಿರ್ವಚನ ಇಲ್ಲ,
ವಿಶುಲ್ರ ವ್ಯಾಪ್ತೋ ವಿತ್ಯೇವ ಮಹೋದಯ.
ತತ್ತು ಅತ್ಯಂತಂ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯಂ.
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಹಳೆ ಓಲ್ಡ್ ರೆಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ವಿಶುವ ಈಸ್ ಮಿಡಲ್ ಅಂತ. ಈ ಕಡೆ ಆ ಕಡೆ ಎರಡು ಕಡೆನೂ ವರ್ಷ ಎರಡು ಕಡೆನೂ ಹರಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಜಾಗದಿಂದ ಎರಡು ಕಡೆನೂ ವರ್ಷ ಹರಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವರ್ಷದ ಮಧ್ಯ ಭಾಗ ಅಂತ.
ವಿಶ್ವ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದೇ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್, ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕಾದ್ರೂ ಸೆಂಟರ್ನ ವಿಶ್ವ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದು. ಇವಾಗ ಯಾಗಶಾಲೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೀಮ್ ಹಾಕೋದಕ್ಕೆ ತೊಲೆ ಹಾಕೋದು ಅಂತಾರಲ್ವಾ, ಆ ಮರಕ್ಕೆ ವಿಶ್ವ ಅಂತ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಎರಡು ಕಡೆನೂ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ, ಪರ್ಣಶಾಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಈ ಕಡೆ ಒಂದು ರೆಕ್ಕೆ, ಆ ಕಡೆ ಒಂದು ರೆಕ್ಕೆ ತರ ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಯಥಾ ಶಾಲಾಯಾಮ್ ಪಕ್ಷಸಿ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಒಂದು ವಿವರಣೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅದು.
ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ವಿಷುಕಾಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಇದೇ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ?
ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಏನೋ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬೆನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಯಾರೋ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
ಜ್ಯೋತಿಷ್ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಷುವಕಾಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಇದೇ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯದಲ್ಲಲ್ವಾ?
ಜ್ಯೋತಿಷ್ಯದಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳೋದಾ? ಪಾಂಡುರಂಗಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅವ್ರ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿ. ಇವಾಗ ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್ ನಿಮ್ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ.
ಸಂಕ್ರಮಣಗಳನ್ನ ಹೇಳುವಾಗ ವಿಷು ಸಂಕ್ರಮಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಅವಾಗ ಸೂರ್ಯನ ಮಧ್ಯಕಾಲ ಸಂಕ್ರಮಣ 6 ತಿಂಗಳ ಸಂಕ್ರಮಣ ಮಧ್ಯಕಾಲವನ್ನು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡೆ ವಿಷು ಸಂಕ್ರಮಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಆ ವಿಷುವ ಇದು ಒಂದೇನಾ?
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇವಾಗ ಈಚಿನ ಜ್ಯೋತಿಷ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹಳೆ 1500 ವರ್ಷದ ಈ ಕಡೆಗಿರೋ ಜ್ಯೋತಿಷ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಪದಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಥ ಬದಲಾಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಅದೇ ಪದ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತಾರೆ, ಬೇರೆ ಅರ್ಥದಲ್ಲಿ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹಳೆ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ, ವೇದ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಗೆ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ವೇದ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶ್ವ ದಿನ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇವಾಗ ಹೊಸ ವರ್ಷ ಆರಂಭ ಆಗೋದು ಉತ್ತರಾಯಣ ಪುಣ್ಯ ಕಾಲದಿಂದ. ಅದರಿಂದ ದಕ್ಷಿಣಾಯನ ಕಾಲ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದೇ ವಿಶ್ವ ಹಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಈಗ ಅದು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈಕ್ವಿನಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಅರ್ಥದಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮುಂಚೆ ಹಾಗಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಹೇಳಿ.
If there are no questions, shall we end this call? I'm asking the audience.
There are a lot more questions, but I think we can end the call. So we can have one more discussion later.
Well, let me thank all of you and also Mr. Sudarshan for organizing this program.
Sir, Seema has a question. She's asking, on the left, she can see more slides and she is interested to see them.
On the left?
On the PPT, looks like there are more visible slides, remaining slides. Is there anything interesting you want to show? He's asking.
No. I had put up a few, but the time is short, so I skipped them. Some other time.
Sir, I have one request.
Can come to my office for a discussion in Bangalore. Visitors have a long discussion.
Sir, I have a request again.
Heli sir, please.
To continue the astronomy and Jyotisha Veda classes.
Well, we'll think about it. I don't know if it is about astronomy, how many people may be interested. But anyway, we will see.
Many people started messaging on the chat that they would be interested, sir. Ram Mohan, Seema, Hari.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್ ಕೊಡೋದು ಬೇರೆ ತರ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಬೇರೆ ತರ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ನೋಡೋಣ, ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ.
Thank you very much, sir. I am thanking on behalf of all the participants. I am overwhelmed by the thank you messages that I am getting on my phone as well as on the chat here.
Okay. Thank you so much. If there are any comments, you please pass them on to me. Actually, Rgveda has sent a mail. I will respond to her later. Professor Pandarangi also wrote. I will be responding to them. I have already responded to Professor Pandarangi. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.